I fought a lot with my sister as kids. One girl at my birthday party wanted to sing in Bulgarian and I wanted in English. But I also confused which one was which and got really mad at her for completely irrational reason. And next time on her birthday, I told her that she ruined my birthday because of that. I'm not proud of this at all. And I don't relate to that mentality now. I don't excuse it. If I had to give a reason why, it was probably because I was very mentally disturbed. One girl tried to kiss me on the cheek, which I didn't expect or want, because I was very disgust sensitive and didn't want anything like that on me by anyone, not her specifically. Of course, some people I may be more okay with some people at that time with that, but she was mostly not one of them, and those people would be way older than me. So what I did, because I was mad at her, was kind of hit her with the clothes. The point of being with the clothes was that I didn't want to actually hurt her. But one time as I was doing that, the zipper hit her face, which I didn't intend, and I still regret. Another time some girl was harassing my sister and constantly pushing, like pressuring herself on her. I don't mean sexually, they were kids. She just wanted to be left alone, so I pushed the girl away and was kind of yelled at her. I hurt my cousin, which I don't remember, but I know I did because they came and somehow I got that I did it. But I don't know what I did, I don't know why I did it. If I had to guess, maybe she touched something or moved something that was mine that I didn't want anyone to move or touch. I don't know if that's it. Most of my childhood I've been extremely irritable and mentally disturbed, and would lash out at a lot of people all the time. Maybe not all the time, but way. No one should react like that as a child. It's not normal, nor as an adult. Then there was a trans person who I initially didn't want to establish any physical contact with. They wanted me to hug them because we were becoming close. I didn't want to because I didn't shower and I would smell like shit. The hugs would last, they wanted them only a few seconds, but this would also cause me, the hug itself, to kind of fall asleep, not fully, but it would make it hard for me to release without grating my brain. I didn't realize what I was feeling at the time was bones grating my brain. That was what was happening. And I didn't mean to hold the hooks awkwardly or long. But I will say a caveat here is that a lot of people fake hooks for 3 seconds and they were a manipulator, but I don't know if they were completely maliciously intended in their manipulation. Because a lot of their case could be due to self-protection, but again I don't know. So they would hook for only 3 seconds, and why they did that? They were taught like that maybe, or it was an initiation thing, but this is actually a manipulation tactic. And if you hold the hook longer, That's when you get the actual hormones that make you close. I read or someone else told me this, I didn't know about it. But it was weird to me, people would only hug for like 2 seconds at a greeting. I don't understand. And I don't think that's supposed to be that way. A lot of rituals like this are not only unnecessary but also harmful. You're not supposed to be hugging people you don't want to hug. They wouldn't tell me outright that I smelled really bad. I did warn them multiple times before the first one. Anyways, I would almost never be present physically with them. And they didn't want to go out with me, although they didn't get out a lot because they had a lot of health issues. But partially the reason they didn't want to go out with me was maybe because they were afraid I was going to hurt them or pressure them. And they were also perceiving me as pressuring them when I was communicating with them online. Which was partially fair because I didn't realize or did wrong them sometimes. However, they all seem to be a control freak in general. And very insecure. And again, maybe maliciously manipulative. I was out with friends and I got a stick and I almost dropped it on another girl which was with our friends. I didn't intend to do that, and I think the fact that I was afraid of something like that happening because of it happening before, it happened then. Another time, when playing a game with a ball, I hit a girl in the face with it accidentally because I was passing it. We were hitting it with our hands. I don't know what that's called, but it hit her in the face and this wasn't intended. Another time with another one, I kept talking jokes in sarcasm because I was also possessed in psychopathy and could barely think. And there were all those negative thoughts on my mind because of experiences and actual threats that I have to live with. I had barely interacted with her before that. This time I overwhelmed her because I was saying those things. I also was in very bad health in general, which is also related to the psychopathy, and I needed to go home. However, I didn't want to leave them by my own, so I decided to annoy them until they both wanted me to go because we was with another guy too. He wanted me to go home because I had annoyed him already, but she was fine with me staying and was defending me. So I kept doing it until she told me to go home. Not proud. And I was in poor self-control. I couldn't express what I wanted to express and just live normally. I also kind of wanted to stay because I hadn't interacted with her much and was curious. And I also learned she was getting abused by her parents. Before that, she had a bunch of things that I was suspecting anyways. I'd be extremely tired as a child and irritable, and I wanted to do my own thing. My sister wanted attention and I couldn't give it to her because I would burn out past a point. She would then start fights, tease me, etc., which is often why we'd fight. Other reasons we'd fight is if she'd steal something for me or break a toy or use a toy or not put things in place because I couldn't use my things because her things were everywhere or she would use my things. I started giving up on items or things like space because of that. I am not hating her or saying this to hate her right now. I'm saying why fights would start with those who fight over things. Like one would want to read when the light was on and the other would want to sleep. Things like that. The one that I annoyed before that, I overheard her say something in class like she was criticizing guys who have long hair but don't take care of it, which offended me. I didn't have long hair at that time. The reason I was offended was because of my poor health. I couldn't take care of it properly. And I was tired of people criticizing this, criticizing that, for no reason, always around me. She was actually one of the best people probably in that class, if I'm not idealizing her. And I think she would have taken it back if I just explained like a normal person. However, I didn't really trust anyone, almost. And since I barely interacted with her, I didn't know anything about her. I also didn't want to interact with her because I was afraid that she would think I may be trying to hurt her because I am insane and everyone knew I was insane. And I looked like a school shooter. And I was afraid that she may try to be friendly with me when she doesn't want it because she'd be afraid of me hurting her. Or she may get bullied because I interact with her. People can start kind of harass her about it even if it's a joke. Some people don't know when to stop or what's not appropriate or what's too much or just not fun. They shouldn't force others to deal with that. Other reasons was again I would smell like shit because of health issues and because I didn't shower because of health issues. Another one told me to stop talking about her illness, which is fibromyalgia. It turns out I have it too anyways. I was talking about it because I learned about it from her just then. And I was trying to figure out what's causing it because I've had illnesses all my life. And I wanted to help her or others who have it to maybe understand why they have it, which will point out to the solution, the cure, because it's a chronic illness. And it's part of the cause, maybe trauma, sexual assault. That's not the cause in my case, however the causes are probably many kinds of stressors like that. And she had experienced that, so by me reaching that, I didn't know that was the reason she didn't want me to talk about it. I didn't know she was assaulted before. So I thought maybe that could be it, and I then realized she may be, but I didn't know before. And she got mad at me because it triggered her trauma. Another time in a server, I introduced myself by saying the time that I have self-diagnosed autism and narcissism, and someone told me that at my age I should know better than to say those things. And someone else before her started harassing me about how I'm dumb. I don't recall what exactly she said, but it was negative about why I'm saying that. The reason I say it is because in case I make a mistake because of those conditions or hurt somebody that I didn't intend to, that I don't mean it and that I'm... But any kind of thing that can happen to me or to someone else because of me, because of that, I just wanted them to know so they don't approach me the wrong way with the wrong preconceptions, that I'm gonna understand, which may be their fault, that like they think that I'm the one who has to understand, but maybe they are. Point is that I wouldn't be like a normal person, so they would have to reach me in another way and be aware of that, if it comes to that, possibly. And she told me that I should know better because people would harass me about it. Which is a very bad way to think because you can't fake everything constantly, it's incredibly stressful. And she actually has borderline, which I also didn't know at the time. And also, if I would be ostracized or banned or whatever for doing something that they perceive as wrong, it simultaneously kind of puts me in danger, but also removes one way for me to connect with others, like me. Which is the reason I'm there in the first place. It can also create me enemies in those communities online. But I don't mean it about specifically online, because same things happen in real life and I can't have those people thinking like that in real life. To justify hurting someone because of some preconceptions. So she basically did what everyone, not everyone, a lot of people in real life do. Invalidate me, assume as I'm not straining to fake to a very high degree, and try to tell me that I'm an idiot about it. So I tried to explain, like lecture her about why she shouldn't do that or why she's wrong, while also criticizing her life choices that stem from her mentality in general. Because I thought two can play this game. Well, she got very offended. We kind of fought. We kind of also joked partially, but I think she was more affected negatively than me, because I was also thinking about not being very, like, trying to make myself not incredibly angry at her, because I didn't want to hurt her unfairly. But I think she thought I was like a creepy incel with no life who's autistic and narcissistic and all that. Which is true, but not in the way that she thought. She tried to get me in voice chat. I joined. I couldn't talk well because of a condition with the hyoids, with my tongue muscles, my head muscles, all that. So she was basically berating me kind of there. trying to joke and fight, but also berate me because she was mad at me and thinking that I was threatening her. Then we left the chat. She told me to kill myself multiple times in the chat. Then we left the chat. And she told everyone that I showed her my... you know what. And I thought she was joking. I said that she showed me her you know what first. Then they called admins, they said they have a tribunal. Then I'm getting banned because they believe her rather than me. I said I had video evidence because I did record the call. Maybe. And they asked for it then, but I didn't send it because in the end she said, I told her that I was recording it in the chat. And she said that it is illegal. Well, I got banned because I didn't have any proof that I didn't show. Then I talked to some people from that server about the truth and showed them the recording. And I had it on private and I would make it unavailable after they'd watch it. Because I didn't want them to show it to anyone. Because not only I didn't want to get in trouble, but I didn't actually want people to start harassing her for harassing me. And I got to talk to an admin and I showed her the video. And they actually banned that girl because of it. But I didn't want her to get banned. I also told the admin that I was wondering if that admin was manipulating me like herself. Because I don't recall the exact reason. But she also got offended of that and blocked me. So we both ended up getting banned and removed. And I hurt both people. This memory is not clear to me. I'm not sure if it actually happened. I may or may not remember a girl who had a birthday and I was invited. She was my sister's friend and I made her cry then. I don't remember if I made her cry, if she was crying and I was there, but I think I made her cry. But I don't remember why or how. For what that's worth, I had a doll as a child, a Barbie doll, and I would strip her naked. I was 3 years old and just showed it to teenagers at the small park. It was very impressive to me for some reason. I'm not proud of that too. I don't know why I did it or where I saw that. I think I may have intuitively picked it up from people's general mentalities around me. You may say that it's just a child being a child, but I'm not completely sure that is true. Because people do influence each other unconsciously, and things that people don't say or express directly in a very overt way doesn't mean that they aren't there. By that I mean a lot of people are probably looking down on or objectifying female body parts. Objectifying them in a fun way may not be that bad if it's not malicious, but I believe some of it is malicious, and even if not intended as evil, a lot of evil is not intended. It's people doing it out of not caring. But when it comes to caring, they don't care to care. as a child I generally thought girls, I don't think it was about grown up women, but girls I found irresponsible. Males not as much. But now I may get along with females better. The reason I thought they were irresponsible is because they didn't. My memory is a bit hazy and I'm not full thinking straight now. It's maybe because they weren't into dark things, which often involve war and fighting, which are very traditionally boy interests. And the point of that is like some philosophical trying to understand why, when you should be aggressive or harmful versus not. Some of it I think was because they were like being grabby, like affectionate, but I was very disgust sensitive and didn't like kisses or physical affection from people I don't really trust. And a lot of them seemed to do it for no reason all the time or in general, which is like them trying to connect with someone else. Physical touch is a way of connection. And I did get along with some girls. I didn't get along with most boys usually, but they were easier for me to understand. Other person I heard I had been lying so much to a point. I had trouble with the truth. My health was also declining and this was harming my thinking and memories. I knew she was suicidal by a cue that she liked a certain music band. So I thought maybe I should try to talk to her before she does it, just because it wasn't right with me that I wouldn't try anything. She seemed like I actually was interested in her before, without knowing that she's suicidal, but I would have never tried to interact with her because I was afraid of hurting her. I would be afraid of hurting her. And the other reasons I mentioned, for example, not showering, the health issues, possibly even she feeling bad for me and this harming her own health. So my memory got messed up and I told her that I lied to her, that I was interested in her, and I talked to her because I knew she was suicidal and I wanted to talk to her because of it. I lied that I lied. I didn't lie that I was interested in her by default. However, the reason I was willing to approach her was because she was suicidal, and then it would be kind of worse not to do it. I was even hesitant to do that because if someone is in a vulnerable state, you can hurt them more and you can be the straw that brings them down. Well, she got very hurt by that, and I think she would never trust me again after it. Then I made a few other mistakes with her because I wasn't able to think properly for a very long time. I couldn't interact with her properly, so I would only text her once every few months. And what I'd text her would be half schizo shit about raw meat. I'm not gonna get into that in this video. This was only like one time thing I tested her about raw meat. Anyways, it wasn't long real. It wasn't long intense contact. And one time I told her that I'd test her on another app because this app we used was bad. However, I was only on Windows, I wasn't using a phone. I was changing my operation system to Linux and I couldn't install that application on Linux despite trying for a month. But I told her that I would test her only because I thought I could. And I actually failed to do it. Or maybe didn't because it worked in a broken way and I may have been able to send a few broken messages, which may or may not have made her think that I was able to text, but I just didn't. And I was making excuses for not doing it and just keeping her on a leash. A few years later, she was still not very well mentally, and I was trying to talk to her about it, but she didn't want to. But I kept pressuring her. The reason I kept pressuring her was because I was afraid of the possibility she may do it. I don't actually know how likely in her case was that she'd do it. Or I also didn't want her to suffer just thinking about it, even if she wouldn't do it. But she made it very clear consistently a lot of times that she doesn't want me to keep bringing it up. Well, I kind of stopped later, but then a thing on the show happened where a psychiatrist said that he'd leave the patient if he keeps doing drugs. He overdosed and ended up in a hospital, which is when she told him. And he also was with very bad people. And I told her that the psychiatrist should kill herself because he was in a very vulnerable state and she shouldn't be threatening him in that worst possible state, one of the worst states, to leave him. That it's irresponsible. And I was very upset about it because he's also paying her. That's how she makes her money. Not just how she makes her money, but he's dependent on her and he's spending his money. Money is your health. It's a lot of things. It's not everything, but it's a lot of things. A lot of people don't have money. For a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And this very upset her a lot. And she told me I was full of myself and blocked me.